Welcome back to the Almost Above Average podcast. I am Chris McIntyre. Today, we're joined by Josh Bostic, and we're going to dive into an important conversation about the Rebel Health Collective and the journey that led us here. Josh shares his experience living with type 1 diabetes and the challenges he's faced within the healthcare system. We'll talk about the power of community support and why self-advocacy is crucial in taking control of our health. We'll also explore some common misconceptions in healthcare and discuss how grassroots movements can inspire healthier lifestyles, from the role of diet and exercise to teaching our kids about good, healthy choices. We're covering a lot of ground. Whenever you're managing a chronic illness or just looking to improve your wellness, there's plenty of valuable insight in this episode, so let's get to it. Well, thank you for doing this. Thanks for welcome to the Almost Above Average podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Excited to be here for sure.
Yeah, I was doing a little research on you. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, got some interesting life events that have definitely taken place last 3 years.
So is that when Rebel Health Collective started?
So really it started in June. So it hadn't been around too long. It's something that I pondered with for about a year and a half. And then my wife was finally like, go to your parents' house, record an episode, and just start this thing. Because you keep talking about it, but you're not doing anything with it. So
right.
She pushed me to start it, and it's been awesome since.
Man, thank God and goodness for wives, right?
I know. Seriously. Yeah.
Oh, man. The starting journey I can relate to a lot. Just talking about it for years and years. Like, just start a podcast. Just write the thing. Just make the video. Just do that stuff. But I think that's one of my biggest things is just starting, a project like that. So definitely. I was looking through your website and some of your social. You got some really good content too.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Who's your video editor?
It's all me. I've done everything myself.
Okay. You've been doing it for the last 3 years?
No. Since I started the podcast in June, that's when I started kind of messing with all of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, man, you've gotten really good.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
I really noticed, that's what I'm trying to do with my company is I do want to have a content agency portion to it aside from the podcast.
Yeah.
So getting
cool.
really good at editing and, captions and just the videos is a big focus for me.
Yeah. And there's a really steep learning curve. Like with editing for the podcast, the first couple episodes, I was spending like 10 hours. And then I finally kind of took a step back and like, is it really worth going into these minute details, or can I put a really similar polished product out with an hour and a half, 2 hours of editing? And so it's been a lot of like kind of taking a look at it and seeing what's important.
Good. I've learned a lot from your content already. That's smart.
Appreciate it.
So can you share a little bit about your personal journey and about the Rebel Health Collective?
Yeah, for sure. Up until about 3 years ago, my life was totally normal. I have a wife, we mountain biked, we were super outdoorsy, didn't really think much about my health. I was one of those where if I had a cold or like the flu, I'd go to a quick ER, get a Z-Pack or whatever, and maybe do my yearly checkup. And that was pretty much my extent with the healthcare system. And 3 years ago, I got a call on some blood work that I did for work. It was just like an HSA incentive. You do blood work, you get some money towards your HSA. So went in and did it, and I got a call saying, hey, your A1C is super high, and your blood sugar at the time was super high as well. You need to go into the ER. And so I went into the ER, not really knowing exactly what all that meant. And without getting like way too in the weeds of everything, I initially got misdiagnosed as type 2 when at the ER just because I didn't fit what the doctor really thought a type 1 would be. Because usually type 1 is diagnosed earlier in life, so it's like in adolescence years. So it's not as common for an older person, like above 20, to be diagnosed with type 1, although it is becoming more and more common these days. But so I was kind of misdiagnosed there, given a prescription and said, take this and your blood sugar will come down and it'll all be good. Basically didn't have a good gut feeling about that experience. Did my own research and kind of put the pieces together that I'm probably more along the lines of type 1 with some of the symptoms I had, which were just peeing a ton. I had like an unbearable thirst. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and drink like those big Nagellan water bottles. I'd have like 2 of those, just standing over the sink, downing them.
Man.
And so my symptoms really aligned with type 1. I just had no idea that those symptoms were a part of it. Ended up going to see an endo, got blood work done, got the official type 1 diagnosis, and then started having some issues where I wanted an insulin pump. And for those not super familiar with it, you can have what's called a CGM on your arm, which is a continuous glucose monitor. and that talks to your insulin pump. It's amazing technology. It's kind of like an external pancreas, and it'll monitor my blood sugar and give me insulin as needed. And I thought that was super cool technology, just a better quality of life that I wanted for myself. And my doctor at the time wasn't a big fan of them. He just, I don't know if he didn't learn much about them, wasn't comfortable with them or what, but he wouldn't give me a prescription. And that's when, I'd say that's really when Rebel Health kind of kicked off, and like my mind was thinking differently, where I was like, this is my health. Like, who are you to like say that I can't have this piece of technology that is proven and FDA approved? It's not some experimental backdoor garage technology. Like, there's several companies that thousands of people that are on these things. And so that's really where I started thinking kind of outside the means of like, what is patient advocacy? How do I stand up for myself?
Out of frustration, right? You're like, I have this thing. I know how to fix it. There's this thing to fix it. The guy who's supposed to give me that thing to fix it, he's just not showing up to the game right now. So you're kind of like a little bit of frustrated, like, all right, now what?
Exactly. Yeah, because all of my medical experience prior to that is, you go in, they say, hey, here's what's wrong. Here's a prescription for it. They're the problem solver in that sense. But this is the first time where it was like kind of just not the cold and the flu. It was really my personal health. And because at the time we just had our son, and I was forgetting, actually, when you're not on an insulin pump, you have 2 different pins of insulin that you basically have to carry around with you everywhere you go. And I was forgetting mine every time I left the house.
Pins? Like a syringe?
Yeah, so it's like an EpiPen almost for someone with allergies. Right. So there's a little needle on there, and basically do your dosage, do your insulin, and you've got one that's like a mealtime or a rapid insulin, so it kicks in really quick, and then one that's a longer term insulin that like kind of slowly is like a drip line over the day, so it slowly gets absorbed. But I was forgetting those every time we left the house, and so we'd go out to eat, and it was kind of the decision of, do I not eat and let my blood sugars be okay, or do I eat and have this giant spike, get really moody, probably make my wife mad at me, all that kind of stuff. So that was where the quality of life part came in. I was like, if it's attached to my body, I can't forget it.
Absolutely.
That's really the main reason I wanted it. Yeah,
that's just smart thinking right there.
Yeah, and so that's... Go ahead. I was going to say, that's really the starting point of when Rebel Health Collective started. And then I've got some really bad back and muscular issues that are going on, and I've had a really hard time getting a diagnosis. And just going through the several different specialties that I've been going through, I've had some really amazing doctors, and then some that are just totally like, don't know what it is, sorry, I can't help you, and like kind of kick you down the road. And so, that's kind of been the other portion of it, is there's a lot of people out there that have medical things going on that they can't get an answer to. And I think one of the big things that I'm trying to do with Rebel Health is build a community around that, and just a support network, because what I found is so many people, whether it's a chronic illness or you're searching for a diagnosis or you're a caretaker, there's a lot of overlap and a lot of community and support that can come without it being exactly the same thing. So I found a ton of resources, honestly, through Reddit that helped me with like navigating type 1 when I first got diagnosed, because I was doing all the things that they said to do. I was following the pamphlet, but I wasn't having any good results. My blood sugars were all over the place. I was going high, I was going low, and I just was thinking, this isn't working for me. I don't know if it's like the standard one size fits all treatment, but it's not working for me. I'm active. I would go to the gym and my blood sugar would just tank and I'd have to go home. It was really interfering with my daily life. And so,
man, usually people, like, I've always associated diabetes with like obesity and being overweight and stuff, but you look relatively healthy. Is that a genetic thing?
So that's kind of the difference in type 1 and type 2. So a lot of your type 2s are kind of the more overweight, and where that comes from is really they're not absorbing the insulin that they're producing. So it's a gradual thing over time a lot of the times, and so your body is not absorbing the insulin and using it correctly, so you're producing more and more and more, and then you're just absorbing it and it's kind of sitting around. So that's kind of where the obesity side of it comes from. But type 1 is definitely more genetic. So you can have literally anybody, all shapes and sizes, can be diagnosed with type 1 if, the gene becomes active.
Good to know. I learn something new every day.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the misdiagnosis at the hospital came from, where he's like, you just really don't fit the queue. Like, I don't understand why your blood sugar is the way it is. You're not super overweight. You're pretty fit. And then he's like, you're old, you're not supposed to be getting diagnosed with type 1. So,
Right.
yeah.
That is pretty crazy. Well, in your mission, I was reading your website, your mission emphasizes individual empowerment in healthcare. So I think you kind of spoke a little bit to that, and that is empowering the person with their own healthcare choices, kind of, right? Or do you want to explain it?
Yeah, no, I mean, you pretty much hit it on the head where, it's your health and your journey. If something's being proposed, a major surgery, and you want more options, you have every right to go get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion. And if your doctor's not giving you the options or the treatments that you want, you have every right to speak up and ask for different options or find a different doctor. I mean, with my back pain right now, a few of the specialists that I've seen, their option's been muscle relaxers. And I'm not ready to do that. That's not the phase that I'm in right now, where I want to be medicated with something like that 24/7, So I've been speaking up and saying, I want other options. I need to figure out what's going on and how to reduce this and not be on muscle relaxers for the next, hopefully 60 years of my life.
Right. I mean, I was in a car accident in 2006, a really bad one. In my back, I have 2 bulging discs now. But after that accident, what ended up happening to me, I was young too. I was like 23. And I started going to pain management because everything they were giving me couldn't take care of the pain. So I took too much ibuprofen, burned a hole in my stomach. So I had to quit taking ibuprofen. Then they put me on narcotics, and I was on narcotics for the longest time. And what happened with that, super addicted, of course. And then it changed my behavior. I started to seek out doctors to lie to them so I turned into a pretty bad drug addict. And I think with people, what you're trying to do with sharing your message is empower people to make their own healthcare decisions. Like, you have that power. And I think there's a stigma in the healthcare industry, and I used to feel it when I was younger, that the doctor that you go see, whoever it is, if he's in the ER, if he's your regular physician, they have some sort of power. So whatever they say, at least in my mind when I was growing up, like, it felt like they were the authority, so I have to listen to them. And I think people have a problem speaking up when they're dealing with doctors because of that reason.
Totally, 100%. And my big point that I tried to put across is, like, there's some really amazing doctors out there. I'm working with one right now. She is freaking amazing, and I'm so thankful for her. She listens to me. She's run a ton of different tests that I've never even heard of that no one else has proposed. So not trying to knock doctors by any means, because there's some amazing ones out there. And I think a lot of it comes down to is not so much the doctors, but the system itself. It's all these big corporations, and the doctors have 15 minutes to get you in and out, get you prescribed something, and try to fix the pain. So it's not a knock on the doctors by any means, but I totally agree with what you're saying. You go in there thinking that they're the know-it-alls. They went to school for so long, they got this degree, and they know what they're talking about. And a lot of times they do, but it may not be individualized for you and what you're really looking for.
Or it could be colored by their experiences growing up. They could be a little bit biased with wherever they came from, their culture, their whatever it is, right?
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, they're human too.
Yo, what up? This is Little Dice Rutabaga on the mic.
What separates the champions from the rest? It's not just about the will to win, it's about the will to prepare. I'm not just doing pull-ups, I'm pushing limits. Every rep is a reminder that I'm capable of more than I thought possible. That's why I chose Bucked Up. Their supplements give me the edge I need to take my workouts to the next level. From pre-workouts to recovery, they've got everything I need to stay on top of my game. With Bucked Up, I get the energy, focus, and endurance to crush every session. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, their products will help you achieve your fitness goals faster. Ready to unlock your full potential? Visit buckedup.com and use code McMedia1 at checkout for exclusive savings available only to my followers.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, one thing that I like to try to broadcast is, so I went to school for supply chain. I did 4 years undergrad and I did my master's. And since getting my degrees, I've not looked at a single supply chain article or anything like that. Once I graduated, my education stopped. And I feel like for doctors, it's kind of the same thing. They got their degree, they're so busy with their practices or something like that. A lot of them don't have the extra time to go in and look at additional studies that are going on, the latest and breaking news, until it becomes the norm, so they could be a couple years behind on some of that stuff. And that could have been the story with my doctor in the beginning with the insulin pump. He just may have not been read up on it and not comfortable prescribing it, which is fine. If he doesn't want to, that's, his choice and his decision, but it's mine to go and find someone that'll be a partner in my story.
There should
So
be something in the medical field where they take some sensitivity training or whatever. So when they offer health advice that someone, can I get a second opinion? That doesn't sound like what I'm dealing with. Do you mind, maybe they promote or said referrals kind of thing. Like, this is what I think it is, but if you want a second opinion, go check out my buddy over here.
yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've noticed with all the specialists that I've seen is that there's no cross pollination. I'm seeing an orthopedic guy and a rheumatologist right now, and it's the first time that they've said, let's do like a combined X-ray and kind of collaborate on that. And that's just, it's so siloed, where you have your heart doctors, you've got your cancer doctors, and they don't talk to one another over an individual patient.
Right. It'd be great if they had a team. They all got together and talked about all. Have you seen House, that show House?
Yeah.
I love how they did that stuff. Like they basically argue it out until something sounds right to everyone. You know what I mean? I really like that approach to healthcare.
Yeah, I wish that could be the way it is, but
Yeah. Well, how does the Rebel Health Collective foster a sense of community with its members? And why do you believe that community support is vital in healthcare?
So, when I first got diagnosed, I mentioned that things just weren't working out. And kind of the big turning point in that, where I was like, something has to change, is my wife was out of town on a business travel trip. And I was watching our probably like 4-month-old son at the time. So kind of still in the blob phase, not really able to crawl or do anything himself. And I was going low, and it was a pretty bad low. So my blood sugar was in the 40s probably. And I knew that I couldn't hold him. I couldn't do anything with him. So I just had to put him in his crib and like sit there listening to him crying, wanting me to pick him up, care for him. And I just couldn't. And so I'm just sitting there with my back to the crib, just like at the lowest point I could feel like I could ever be at. Because as a dad, all you want to do is take care of your kids. And I literally couldn't. And so that's when I was like, I can't keep going on like this. Something has to change. I got really into, different forums on Reddit, Facebook groups, things like that, trying to find others who were wanting to just be different and live a normal life. I guess more of an active life, because I feel like a lot of people, once they get on insulin, you kind of become a little bit more of a couch potato, because you're not riding those highs and lows. Because you could literally do insulin and then go walk to get the mail and your numbers could drop. And it's really frustrating, and I can see why people just kind of become more sedentary because of it. But I wanted to get on the ground. I wanted to go for walks. I wanted to push him in the stroller and do that kind of stuff. And I found a podcast actually that talked about fasting as a type 1, and that changed everything. I started incorporating that, and my blood sugar became so much more stable. I wasn't on that high and low roller coaster. And so that's really what I want to try to bring about with Rebel Health Collective, is highlight people's stories, people that across the board are on, diabetics, have cancer, are dealing with Hashimoto's, whatever disease, story, journey you have. I want to put it out there because I think it can help someone. It may not help 1,000 people, but if it can help 1 or 2 people like me, my life has turned around from finding that podcast.
Well, you're already helping me. Let me tell you something I just connected with your story. I think I was misdiagnosed for rheumatoid arthritis. But when you were telling your story about not being able to do anything with your kids, before I had my hip, I had one hip replaced already. And during that time, when I was leading up to that, it was the darkest, lowest time of my life. And the reason was, like, I couldn't walk because of my hip, but it wasn't that, and it wasn't the pain. It was that I couldn't go play catch with my son, both my kids. It was just, I wanted to go play catch, and I didn't feel worthy of living. I didn't feel like a man. I felt like a horrible dad, a horrible husband. It was the lowest I've ever felt before. But I think I was misdiagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis because I was lying to doctors for years to get drugs, years and years and years. And I was a bad alcoholic. And so at the same time I was trying to get treatment for my rheumatoid arthritis, I was also trying to get drugs to, get high. And so I was in a phase where I was just dishonest to everybody in my life. But what I was thinking about in your story, after I quit doing drugs and drinking, like everything got better, obviously. But like physically, all my physical stuff, my blood work comes back good. My cholesterol is good now. I still need to get my other hip fixed because I had gout and rheumatoid arthritis. I'm not sure if it is. I tend to believe that it wasn't. It was just gout moving all over my body. But yeah, that's crazy how... But she empowered me to go get a second opinion, but that wasn't why I was there. I was there for the drugs and maybe treat me a little bit. But no, I really connected with that. It sounded like the exact same story, except for instead of diabetes, it was rheumatoid arthritis for me. So,
Yeah,
man,
and it's
powerful.
unfortunate that you have to hit those points sometime to really turn you around. But at the same time, I am way healthier than I was before getting diagnosed. I ate like crap. I didn't care about my health. I went to the gym and kind of lifted weights, walked for a little bit, would basically say I went to the gym and I worked out, but I wasn't doing much.
Yeah.
I just, that point gave me so much more of a reason to live and take care of myself, be a little bit more selfish and taking care of myself. And that's been a big part of it as well.
And it seems like it's been a domino effect too. I mean, you made a decision to make your life better, and now look at all the stuff that you got a website going, you got a Facebook groups that you're working on. And I'm a, I want to be in your network.
Yeah, for sure. No. And that's been the coolest part of all this is you and I were kind of messaging earlier, and a lot of the people that I've come across through doing this or interviewing with, they've become kind of my really good friends. And, they're all going through something different, but it's that community of, man, I got this bad blood work back. It may not be the exact same blood work that Jennifer got, but she's had the same experience where you've got a doctor's appointment a month from now and you can chat GBT your life away and try to diagnose yourself. But
Right.
until you get in there and get with the doctor, there's not much you can do. And that kind of lingers over you. But having someone to talk through that with makes all the difference.
Or even, having a community online that we can all post questions in, like, hey, I'm going through this, my blood sugar levels are X, X, and X. Doctor says this. What would you guys do? I get more advice from not professionals that I follow that turn out to be better because I trust other people.
Definitely. And, they're going through it. I had people who would get on the phone for an hour with me when I first got diagnosed, kind of walking through, helping me go to the gym and not go low, so I had to leave. Talking about the different exercises and how they affect your blood sugar. And if you're running, it's going to be like an adrenaline spike, so your blood sugar is going to go up. But if you're just walking on the treadmill, your numbers are going to plummet. And there's nothing that I learned in the doctor's office.
That's so much to manage, just trying to live your life, man.
Yeah. And so, the pamphlet that they give is great and it's got some information on it. But without networking and connecting with the people who had actually gone through it and had come out on the other side and found some solutions, I would be in a totally different spot today.
Tell me about your support system. You got a nice, strong support system?
Yeah, I do for sure. My wife is just freaking amazing. She knows, she can tell when I'm having a day, and she just puts it all on her back like a freaking champion. So I am so thankful for her. She's a superwoman, and she, will try to cook better meals for us. She's really changed the ingredients that are in our cupboard, all that kind of stuff. So she...
Nice. Sounds like she
Not
loves
only-
you or something.
just I don't know why and I don't know how I got lucky, but yeah, she does. And she doesn't just support me, she really incorporates it into her own life, so it's not like me over here having chicken and broccoli and then them having Chick-fil-A. She's
Right.
she's having the same meal and incorporated a lot of the changes that I've
That's
had
a
to make into
sacrifice.
her
At
life.
my house, it would be.
Exactly. Yeah. So she's been great. And then, her parents and my parents have been awesome. Her mom, when we go over there to cook, she's always asking beforehand, hey, this is what I'm planning to have. Like, is this okay? Do I need to change anything out? So, just having a support system like that has been really big.
That's great. How old are the kids?
We just have one, and he just turned 2 in June. So about 2.5 now.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
My granddaughter just turned 2. Dang, I feel old.
It's a fun age. He's talking, and his little
Yeah.
personality is definitely coming out.
Yeah, but you have to keep your son. When my granddaughter acts up, I get to send her home with my daughter.
Yeah, that's how my parents are for sure. They
I
love
super
to have them
appreciate
come
it.
over, but we always get the call like, hey, you guys coming back over here soon?
Yeah. Now I'm back. I'm in the role now where my daughter can bring my granddaughter over, and I can hype her up with sugar and send her home, just for
Yes.
payback.
Yep. That is 100% my dad.
Yeah. So how do you envision the future of healthcare evolving to better support individual empowerment and self-advocacy?
To be honest, I don't see a way that healthcare itself necessarily does that. I don't think 10 years from now we're going to pull a 180 and be in a totally different spot. I think it's going to be up to the individual. And that's kind of the grassroots movement that we're going to have to make, where there's a lot of alternative medicine that's coming out right now. And I think that's going to have a big play in maybe the direction that we end up going. And I think down the road, what it's going to take is a generation to really own their health and kind of go outside the norms of just going in and getting a prescription and masking the symptoms, but finding the root cause. And through that, I think it'll kind of be a trickle down effect, where we're cooking dinners at home more. Our son has a little ladder that he loves to come and participate and do that with us. So just, from things like that, where we're not bringing home to-go food all the time, but we're in the kitchen together, cooking food together, eating together, and he's helping prepare the foods. I think things like that are what's going to actually change our health.
He's going to have good habits going, as he grows up, if he learns that now.
Right. It's that kind of stuff. And so I don't think that healthcare is going to necessarily become a 180 and be super centralized, and all the doctors are going to have meetings together across specialties for each patient like we were talking about.
Kumbaya.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think that that's realistic as much as I'd like it to be. And so I think the change in healthcare is us becoming not so sick and not having to go to these doctors so much.
I agree with you. I've thought of that, after I got sober, and my problems didn't go away, but they all improve. And I'm like, man, it's all about, to me, in my opinion, it's just about habits. If I can train myself, right now, this is what I'm working on. I'm brushing my teeth with my left hand every day. Every time. My commitment is for the rest of time. I'm just going to brush my teeth with my left hand just to master a new skill, maybe rewire my brain a little bit, but, just little challenges like that, little tests. So I'm teaching my kids, the why of why we have to do the dishes, why you have to do the dishes, or mow the lawn, those little things. They'll carry that hopefully into their adult life. Especially the eating part and the physical health. I'm really digging down on the diet and the exercise part while they're young. They're 15 and 12, my youngest two. So they still got, I got a little bit of training left to give to them. And I want to make sure that when they leave here, they at least have an understanding that they should keep a good eye on their physical health, and they should be watching what they eat because of diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, all of these. I blame the American diet on a lot of health problems, throughout the country. You
100%
know what I mean?
do too. Yeah.
Obesity, diabetes, there's tons of them. But
yeah,
we can only control what we can control in our house.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly right. And I think that's the answer to your question is what's the future of healthcare look like? It's controlling what's inside your house and what you as a family eat, do, watch, participate in, all that kind of stuff.
Or educational, this is what's going on in our house and it's not working. So what's going on at your house? Part of the community building aspect where we're sharing information versus going to a so-called expert and taking his advice blindly no matter what he says.
Yeah. Yep.
I think and probably got a big problem doing that with the doctors, just blindly listening,
Yeah, I think it's a cultural thing where, like you mentioned, it's just you figure you go in and you get a prescription, you get a whatever, and they're the experts and it should fix everything. But I saw a podcast, I think it was yesterday, where someone said something about prescription, and it really made me rethink the way I look at medicine. And it's if it was going to fix the problem, why does it have a refill?
Right.
If you're going to have to keep going back for more and more, exactly. So if you're not getting down to the root cause, which is what I've started to focus on through diet and exercise, like you mentioned, and just kind of mindfulness, I think that's where you're going to find the real treatment, not through a prescription.
How long would you say you've been taking, putting a focus on your diet and your physical health?
I'd say really seriously the last year when I had all the back issues, because I'd gone to pain management therapy, chiropractic, and none of that was working at all. And I started to go to see some specialists and wasn't getting a whole lot of answers from there, or, alternative treatments other than painkillers. And that just is not something that I'm ready to do right now. And so I actually got told by a friend to do a diet called the AIP, which is the autoimmune protocol. And so it's basically an exclusionary diet, and it excludes all the trigger foods. I mean, we're talking you don't have coffee, you don't have nuts, and it's basically meat and vegetables in the beginning. And there's even some meats that you're not supposed to have in the very beginning, like salmon. So started off with that, and just in about 3 weeks time, felt so much better. Brain fog was going away. My back was feeling better. I wouldn't say it wasn't I woke up one morning I'm healed, but I got to a point where I was if this is as bad as it gets, I can do this. This is fine. And so that diet and that kind of turning point in that third week, I was kind of like, okay, I think there's something to all those crazy people that said like food is medicine, because I really do think it had a huge part of what's going on inside me. And after some additional testing, I kind of found out that gluten was what was causing a lot of gut issues. And then that gut inflammation was going out to the rest of my body. It was basically my body saying like, SOS, we are screwed right now.
I wonder if I should get tested for the gluten allergy. I can't seem to lose, well, I don't need to lose weight per se. I can't get rid of this like belly that I got, And I go to the gym every single day. Like I'm working on it, but I'm not getting anywhere close. So I wonder if that's probably something I need to look at.
Yeah. And, within functional medicine, which is kind of where I turn to more now for all of my medical stuff. I've got a team that I work with, and we do blood tests, and we've been going at it for about a year now. I'm about to do my next one in a month. And, my like homocysteine, my gut inflammation, all these markers that you don't get at the traditional medical practices, those have all really come down, and we've seen a ton of progress, and I've started to feel a whole lot better. And when I start slipping up, I can feel it. My back starts to tighten up. I start to get cramps, and so I can tell that not following that protocol.
So that diet that you're on, it sounds like there's not a whole lot of processed foods.
No.
So you said meat, vegetables, is that pretty much it?
Well, sorry, my pump's yelling at me. So it's an exclusionary diet in the beginning, but then you slowly reintroduce things. So you start putting things back in. But yeah, it's all based on organic, natural foods. I mean, you're not supposed to be eating like even deli ham because it's kind of processed in that sense. Yeah, so things like that are out. Basically, if it comes from like a chip bag or something that you have to open and can store for later, not really in the cards.
Well, that's good. I bet processed foods are a lot of, the reason for a lot of health problems in America.
Yeah,
I'm
think
trying to
so.
get away from them myself.
Yeah, I mean, just from when you think about it, I mean, if you pull something out of the ground, like a carrot or, something like that, versus a bag of Oreos, it's night and day when you think of what goes into making an Oreo and the process, and there's nothing nutritional about it. I mean, there's calories in there, but there's nothing good for your body by eating an Oreo, other than the enjoyment you get from maybe having a dessert or something like that, which I think there is something too. I'm not saying don't ever have an Oreo, but if your diet throughout the day consists of things like an Oreo for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're not getting any of the nutritional value from whole foods, from meat and all that kind of stuff, your body's going to start just getting depleted.
Right. As it should. Eat some vegetables.
Exactly. Eat your greens, eat your vegetables.
Right. What are some common misconceptions about the healthcare industry that you encounter during your work?
I would say what we've touched on really is that you go in and the first answer you get is the right answer. And it might be. It very well could be. Going back to that, there are some very smart doctors out there who really know what they're doing. But it's a matter of finding that doctor and making sure that they're a partner in your health and, are up for some of the things that you want to try. If you want to try different things like fasting or incorporating some out-of-the-box means. But I think that's really the biggest misconception, is that you're going to go in, see a doctor, and you're going to get healed. When I think your symptoms are being masked more so than being healed, because it goes back to that refill and having to up dosages along the way and all that. I mean, that's just concealing the pain. It's concealing whatever you're feeling, and it's not truly addressing why your body's pissed off at you.
Right. The back of the physical health and the diet thing. It was the same for me. I didn't know I was going through all these physical problems, and I had to get blood work all the time, rheumatoid arthritis and that stuff. But I was on, 10 different medications a day, 10 to 12, including my painkillers and the things that I like to just get high. But I was taking so many of these things, and never once back then did I think, maybe if I just tried to be a little healthier, maybe got some exercise or ate correctly, it just wasn't. I wonder if that's a societal thing. Like, do we just grow up thinking we can eat whatever we want and be healthy? Whereas, my parents didn't really, physical health and diet wasn't a part of the home that I grew up in. I mean, it was talked about, like, yeah, eat your vegetables like most people do. But there was no emphasis on it. So what I'm trying to, with my kids, is put a little emphasis on it. Like I push them to come to the gym with me. I push them to eat something healthy. And I've noticed the change in their minds. Like they're starting to have that habit also. Like I'm eating a bunch of protein because I'm trying to do some bodybuilding. I see my son like doing the same thing. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it makes me feel really good. Like sweet.
Yeah,
maybe they won't turn out like I did.
And that, I don't think you can force it on them. It's not something that you can just say, this is what we're eating from now on. We're never eating an Oreo again. But by you incorporating it and you eating those meals, it's the same thing as us cooking with our son. I mean, we're not forcing him to do that, but he sees my wife and I in the kitchen together and he wants to be a part of it. And it's just becoming a habit, like you mentioned. It's just something that he's going to become normal to.
Yeah, habits, they change everything. I read this book called Atomic Habits. Have you read that?
Yeah, it's a good one.
I really like that book. A lot of things clicked in my brain. Made me feel really stupid, but
hey,
that's all right.
That's why we read into those things. I feel stupid every day.
So where do you see the Rebel Health Collective in 5 years?
Really, I mean, hopefully just doing the same thing, honestly. I hope that we have a ton of different stories and episodes with experts and real patients being broadcasted out there. I would like to start some sort of like maybe a school page or something a little bit bigger than a Facebook page where people can connect and ask questions. And, if you're coming for diabetes advice, you can post there and get information from real people that have gone through it. Or if you're looking through a diagnosis and you get blood work back and be able to say, hey, these are the markers that are out. Has anybody else experienced these? Where can I go? What can I do with these? And so building some sort of page to make it a real community where people can interact, I think is the next big step.
Okay. Well, if I can help, I want to. I mean, I want to stay in touch with you going forward.
Definitely.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think we have a little bit in common, and I want to keep hearing your story and track down how you're doing.
Definitely. And I love what you're doing as well, because, it doesn't have to be this huge story of making a multi-million-dollar business out of nothing. It can be just people doing good in the world. And I think that goes a whole long way.
Do you know why it is that way? Because I told you before, I was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and I didn't know how to stop. And the only way that it finally clicked to me is because I didn't know where to turn. When I moved here to North Carolina, that was kind of where I set off to. I was either going to stay back home in Nevada and kill myself, drink myself to death, or I was going to come out here and get my shit together and, be there for my kids and for at the time, she was my ex-wife, but we're back together now. The reason I was able to even change is because I clicked with a story one day inside of an AA meeting. I was desperate. I didn't know how to not drink. And so I just Googled AA meetings near me, like the day I got here. And there's a number. I called the number. Guy told me where a meeting was. I went to a meeting. I didn't hear nothing that day, but I went to a couple different ones. And then somebody said something. He told my story out loud. And he had a bunch of pain. And I'm like, huh. There's no, like, I didn't think anyone could understand what I had been going through. I was, just, my brain wasn't working. So when he told my story, it helped me immediately. Ironically, that is the reason I believe in God now. Stories like that. Like, he was telling my story, and for me, it felt like a coincidence. I'm like, how does he know everything that I've felt, everything that I've been through? I've come to know that as God, because those things kept happening to me. And I was a very staunch atheist before I got sober. And so that's kind of how I connected with other people and how I was able to fix myself just by listening to them, listening to their failures, listening to their wins, taking what I can from their stories. And it happened so many times. I'm like, man, I want to grab a bunch of these stories and give them to the world. Because if somebody can hear their own story through somebody else, maybe that can pull them out of the darkness. A little bit about me.
You hit it. It's community. There's people who can listen to a podcast and take the 5 points that come from it and turn their life around. And I'm not one of them. I need a support system. I need people that I can reach out to and say, today sucked, and have them understand and, just get it off your chest. And that's what community is. And to your point, it doesn't have to be one specific thing. It can be a wide range of people's stories, and we can all relate in different ways. I mean, we've related on several points today, and our story's not the same. We don't have the same diagnosis or issues going on. We live in different states, different ages, different family types. I mean, but we've chatted 4 messages and we're going on 45 minutes. And,
right.
I'm looking forward to already talking to you again down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's all
Absolutely.
about.
I super appreciate you being on the podcast. Yeah, and like, yeah, we talked about, I'm gonna have you back on if you're willing.
Of
That would be
course.
awesome.
Yeah. Let's keep in touch and keep
Yeah.
supporting.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna subscribe to your podcast next time I get in the car and add it to my rotation. Where can everyone find the Rebel Health Collective?
So it's pretty much on any platform for the podcast. Just search Rebel Health Collective. And then on Facebook, Instagram, and Substack right now. So on any of those media forms, just search Rebel Health Collective.
Nice. You're on Substack.
Yes, yeah. Trying
Okay.
to figure that out. I've posted a couple articles and, trying to learn that means as well. But
Me too.
seems pretty
Yeah.
cool.
All forms of media. I'm trying to get involved. I called my company McMedia Network, so I'm trying to incorporate all forms of media into my network.
Yeah. Well, I was checking out your YouTube, platform before, and definitely going to pick your brain on that because I
Pretty
am
crazy.
not doing too hot on YouTube.
Well, we'll get there. I'm gonna subscribe to your Substack too before I forget. I'm on there also. So you're on Substack, Instagram, and Facebook. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
I'll grab links when I go put this episode together and put it in the show notes so people can follow it.
Okay. Awesome. I appreciate
So
that.
in this episode, it probably won't come out till Thursday. I'm gonna probably
Okay.
release it on Thursday.
No worries.
You want me to
Lot
tag
going
you
on.
with some content on the
Sure. Yeah.
socials?
And I'll definitely share it and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, Josh. It was great talking to you, man. I really appreciate it.
You as well. I'm glad we connected and looking forward
Yeah.
to staying connected.
Do you use Riverside when you record?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say the last couple interviews that I did, they cut it off right after we got off the podcast, and so it didn't upload the other person's
Gosh.
stuff.
Okay.
So
Dang.
I think, and then I put in a ticket to Riverside tech support, and they said, "Yeah, after you're done recording, the other computer has to stay on for a little bit so it can finish uploading." So
Yeah.
just something to be
I've
aware
had-
of.
Had some issues lately. Like I did a solo recording
Mhm.
and no audio at all. And like I know my mic and stuff is working. So I've had
Yeah.
a couple of issues. I don't know if they pushed a new upgrade out, but I've had some issues lately too.
Well, your audio on your content sounds really good. What kind of mic are you using?
It's a Blue Yeti.
Oh, I've seen those. I almost bought one of those. They're relatively inexpensive too.
They are, yeah. So I started off with like a $25 one from Amazon, and then I was looking at like the Shure ones or whatever. They're like $400, 350, $400, and I was like, that's a big jump. And so I got this off Facebook Marketplace, and I've been really happy with it. You can download like the Logitech app and like kind of do some EQ stuff with it for your voice.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, you can kind of tune it for your settings, and there's a lot of like preset tunes that you can download and use. So they have like podcaster tunes, streaming tunes, all that kind of stuff.
How long has your podcast been live?
I think my first episode is like mid-June, early July, somewhere in that time
Not
frame.
very long, huh? How was your experience at podcasting?
And it's been pretty good. Started slow, starting to like book out a couple weeks in advance now and like get some referrals to other people and like, hey, you need to talk to this person. So finding guests was the hardest part. And then, so much of what I put out there is either pretty specific, if it's someone with cancer, mostly cancer patients are going to listen to that. So, it hasn't like blown off because every episode's wildly different, I guess, and a little specific in that sense.
Well, I think the podcasting game is more of a marathon,
I think so too.
Unless
Yeah.
I get like Mike Tyson on here to say some wild stuff.
Right. You get Joe Rogan or somebody to be a
Yeah.
guest. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's a marathon. I mean, I'm not trying to. I mean, I am trying to make money off podcasting, but that's not the reason that I'm doing it.
For sure. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I mean, I have a regular day job, and so I kind of do this when I can. And, I haven't put an episode out in a week or two just because we've been
You
so
got a
busy.
2-year-old at home. That's tough.
Yeah. So trying to figure out when I can fit it in and all that kind of stuff because it's the same way where I'm passionate about it, but I'm not trying to make it big tomorrow off of it either.
Right. Yeah, I want McMedia Network. That's the LLC I started last year. And I started it for podcasting for short because I was making TikToks anyway. It's like, man, I'm doing this all the time. Let's focus it. Let's put it in a direction so it's not just throwing stuff into the world. So, kind of taking it seriously. I mean, I know my content isn't super serious all the time, but I do take it seriously, when I'm making it. And then I was doing audiobooks. Like I saw this TikTok of side hustles, and this chick in 60 seconds explained how to make money doing audiobooks on Amazon. I'm like, cool, I'm going to try that. That looks easy enough. So I did that. Turns out it was very difficult. It took like 6 months just to learn how to get the audio right, how to edit it all right. Like, it was tedious and it was a process. But during it, I recorded, I think 5-6 books now that are available on Amazon. And they're not the greatest, but I did it. So now I can do it. That's something I can offer to an author. I have a lot of authors that come onto the podcast. So I have that as a product. Like, hey, you want to record your audiobook? I'll do it for X amount or something like that.
For sure. And you got a good voice for it too.
I appreciate that.
I could definitely hear you doing things like that.
I like using it. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Josh. We'll talk soon, man.
Cool. Definitely.
Thanks for being almost above average.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
Catch you.
Have
See
a good
you.
day.
Thanks for joining us today on Almost Above Average. I hope you found our conversation with Josh as insightful and inspiring as I did. Remember, the journey to better health is often easier when we have support and community behind us. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you take a moment to leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback helps us reach more people and continue these important conversations. And if you know someone who could benefit from this discussion, whether it's a friend, family member, or anyone navigating their health journey, please share this episode with them. It truly means the world to me. And thank you for being part of this community. I can't wait to catch up with you on the next episode of Almost Above Average. Peace.